The hook and the great question. Imagine this: you are standing in front of a mirror, staring into your own eyes. The reflection stares back, familiar yet foreign. The face belongs to you, but does the mind? A voice inside whispers, no, argues, that you are not who you think you are. And just like that, a war begins. A war between the self you know and the self you fear. Between the part of you that wants to live and the part that questions whether living has any meaning at all. What happens when a mind turns against itself? Not in the obvious ways, madness, psychosis, delusion, but in the quiet, insidious battle of contradiction. You long for meaning, yet doubt its existence. You crave freedom, yet sabotage yourself at every turn. You desire love, yet push it away. You dream of a future, yet fear it will swallow you whole. What is this force that binds you to your own destruction? And more importantly, who is the real enemy here? You have felt it before, haven't you? The split. The impossible paradox of being one person and yet many at the same time. The part of you that smiles while another part screams. The mask you wear while something restless claws beneath your skin. If the mind is a singular entity, then why does it feel like a battlefield? Pause for a moment. Picture yourself at the edge of a vast abyss. On one side, everything you claim to be, your values, your dreams, your carefully crafted identity. On the other, a voice that mocks it all, unravels it, whispers that none of it is real. Which side do you trust? Perhaps this is the real curse of consciousness, to be aware enough to question one's own reality, yet too trapped to escape it. The mind is both prisoner and warden, the warrior and the wound. And so, the battle rages on. You might wonder, is this war winnable? Or is it simply the price of being human, the inevitable consequence of thought, self-awareness, and contradiction? Before we can answer that, we must dig deeper. We must expose the hidden machinery of this conflict, the forces, both psychological and philosophical, that make it not only possible but inevitable. We must ask, why does the mind turn against itself in the first place? And more disturbingly, what if it was always meant to? The hidden problem and its psychological/philosophical roots. The battle within you is not a glitch, it is the design. For centuries, thinkers and philosophers have wrestled with the paradox of self-conflict. Carl Jung called it the shadow, the repressed part of us, lurking beneath our curated identity, waiting to be acknowledged. Nietzsche warned of the dangers of self-deception, of how the human mind constructs elaborate illusions to protect itself from the unbearable weight of truth. Schopenhauer, with his grim determinism, argued that the will to live is simultaneously the will to suffer, a ceaseless striving that guarantees its own discontent. And then there's Sartre, who declared that consciousness itself is a void, a hole in being that forever seeks to fill itself yet never can. What if the war within us is not a malfunction, but the very essence of what it means to be human? What if this battle, this self-doubt, this contradiction, is the price we pay for awareness? From the moment we are born, we inherit contradictions. Society tells us to be ourselves but within limits. To dream, but only realistically. To pursue happiness, but never at the cost of stability. We are taught that success is fulfillment, yet countless people reach the pinnacle of achievement only to find themselves emptier than before. Why? Because the mind is wired for paradox. It both craves certainty and revels in doubt. It seeks comfort but thrives in struggle. Psychology has a name for this: cognitive dissonance. The mind despises inconsistency, yet it breeds it. You want to be free, but freedom terrifies you. You want purpose, yet the weight of meaning is crushing. The more you chase one extreme, the more the other haunts you. But here's the deeper question: if the mind creates this war, does that mean it also holds the key to ending it? Or is conflict our natural state, an endless, inescapable loop? We must now turn to the unseen consequences of this battle, the way it shapes not only our personal lives but the very structure of our world. The unseen consequences. Step outside and look around. The world you see is not a product of harmony, but of conflict, an outward projection of the same war raging inside every human mind. Nations rise and fall because of competing identities. Relationships collapse under the weight of unresolved contradictions. Even our technologies, designed to connect us, only deepen our divisions. Why? Because the battle within is never confined to the mind, it bleeds into the fabric of reality itself. Your internal war determines how you see the world. If your mind is fractured, reality appears fragmented. If you fear yourself, you will fear others. If you cannot reconcile your contradictions, you will project them onto the people around you, seeing enemies where there are none, threats where there is only uncertainty. Consider this: every ideology, every belief system, every moral code is an attempt to impose order on the chaos of thought. Religions offer salvation from existential dread. Governments promise stability in a world that feels unstable. Even personal routines, rituals, habits, obsessions, are desperate acts of control over an inherently uncontrollable mind. We construct systems to protect us from the battle within, yet those very systems become battlegrounds themselves. Neuroscience reveals another unsettling truth: the brain is not a unified whole, but a collection of competing impulses. The limbic system, primitive and emotional, craves pleasure and survival. The prefrontal cortex, rational and calculating, seeks long-term fulfillment. Beneath consciousness, countless neural pathways fight for dominance, shaping every decision, every reaction. What you call you is not one voice, but a chorus, sometimes harmonious, often discordant. And so, the war rages on, shaping not only individual lives but entire civilizations. But what if this conflict is not just a curse, but also a catalyst? Could it be that our greatest innovations, our deepest insights, our most profound acts of creation arise not in spite of this battle, but because of it? If that is true, then the question is no longer how to silence the war, but how to harness it. How to turn the battlefield into a forge. And that, perhaps, is the key to breaking free. The ultimate truth, the final, most powerful realization. Here is the final truth: the war within you is not something to be won, it is something to be understood. You are not broken. You are not a failure. The conflict you feel is not evidence of your inadequacy but of your depth. To struggle is not to be lost, it is to be alive. The mind will always be at war with itself, because it is through this battle that we evolve. True strength is not found in the absence of contradiction, but in the ability to hold contradictions without being consumed by them. You do not have to silence the voices within you, you must learn to listen without fear. This is your truth: you are both the storm and the sky, the chaos and the calm. And that is what makes you whole.